Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, what we're going to be seeing is the last bit of HTML, where you have to know the terminology, like making a HTML page a semantic page. So when you say semantic, it means like relating to the meaning. If you have a tag, which is like a header tag or a footer tag, the content in that will be related to the tag. That's what semantic HTML stands for. And as you can see on the right side, you have the semantic HTML, and on the left side, you have the non-semantic HTML. You can make websites both the ways, but the way which is suggested and is commonly followed is a semantic way, where you like split your web page in parts, where you have the header, your main body, you have the footer. So like this, the web page is split, and inside the header you have the nav bar, the logo, and all of that. Inside the body you have the article, you have the section, the figure, video, image, and in the footer you put your required information. So in this video, we're going to be seeing what is semantic HTML and why use it. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Now I have a HTML file called semantic.html. I have created in the folder called HTML. And this one is a non-semantic HTML way of writing it, where you use divs to place your content. And we'll start off by looking at the top of the web page, the header tags. So here it works like this, that you have a div which has a ID called header, and then a h1, and then another div which has an ID called nav, and then unordered list, and three lists inside that unordered list, and then the closing tags. Now this is a non-semantic way of writing it, and you actually cannot understand from it what it's just saying. Like all the elements are just divs or divisions. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to use specific HTML tags for the header, for the nav bar, so that it's easier for people to look at it and understand that this part of the code is for the header, even when you don't have comments or any kind of writing out there for the user to understand while looking at your code. So you have a div with the ID called header. So what I'm going to do is just remove this whole div and change it to header. And the closing div will also change it to a closing header tag. Once you save it and you open it with live server out here, you actually cannot see the difference between the div and the header. But what is really important to understand is that you have a header tag, which makes it easier for people. Okay, this section, this whole code section is for the header. And that's the semantic way of doing it. And they'll say, okay, the h1 under the header. And then similarly out here, you have a div with nav. That's for the nav bar, which you're going to be using later. Now, as we did for the header, we'll go ahead and we'll change this particular div, which is ID of nav, and we'll change it to the nav element. With HTML5, there have been a lot of upgrades, and one such upgrade is such semantic tags, which helps user to understand and write code, and also for coders to write in a much more elegant and a professional way. So we change this to nav. So the nav element represents a section of the page that links to other pages or to parts within the page. So there's a particular element specifically for this purpose, nav. So why not use that when you have it? Similarly, we change out here. We'll put the closing nav. If you save it, no changes, but this is a much better and elegant way of writing your code. Like we did for the header and the nav, which is the topmost part of your page. Now let's jump to the main content and the footer of the page. And similarly with HTML5, like the header tags, you have the main tag and the footer tag, which makes it easier for you to write. So similarly, you have a div with the ID of main out here. We will change this to a main tag, so it's much better to understand. So we'll change this main, and as VS Code MAWH gives us, is the main element represents the main content of the body of a document or application. So we'll close this. That's the main tag, and again it does not do any changes, but it just makes your code look much better and elegant, and it's easier to understand. And similarly, you have the footer tag too, which is for the bottom of your document. Like in the table, you had a tfoot for your table alone. You'll have a footer tag for the whole page. So let's go ahead and let's write the footer tag. So your footer element represents a footer for its nearest ancestor section content. So that's like the footer tag. And let's go ahead and close the footer tag. Close it here. Similarly, no changes, but it's just much more simpler instead of just using multiple divs to understand. Like if you had seen this page without such semantic elements, it would have been hard to understand. Like a div with the ID of header, then a div with the ID of nav, and a div with the ID of main, and a div with another ID of footer. That's like so many divs. It's easy to understand when you have these semantic elements. So how HTML divides your main content is into sections. So this works similar to divs, but it's much more simple and it's easy to look into. So how sections is like let's say you have your main content like about an introduction about the dogs, let's say, and the introduction about the dogs is a separate section. Then the breeds of dogs is a separate section, and then the pet dogs is a separate section, and then you have a couple more sections, let's say. These contents, when written under section tags, it's easier to look into. Okay, this is the first section, this is the second section. Otherwise, you just have to go and write divs, multiple divs, and that's the non-semantic way. And we don't want to write code in the non-semantic way. We want to keep it in the semantic. So let's go ahead and change this div ID to a section. And section element represents a generic section of a document or application, like a section in a document. That's what we are saying. And this is another section, and we save it. Okay, that's a section, no changes, but we just put it there. And then we have another tag called as an article tag. And article tag, how it works is like, let's say you have a newspaper article. So out there you have the heading of that article and then the main body of that article. So similarly, section wraps that whole article. You write the heading using any of the heading tags from H1 to H6, and then you write your main content. The paragraph of each section is written under article tag. So you go ahead and then I'm sure you write an article tag and then you close it. And then what you do is you wrap your paragraph inside the article. So you give a tab space, so there's tab space there. And this is just a better way for you to present yourself as a coder when you're doing some web development coding. This is again a semantic way of doing it, where you have articles, sections, headings. So you have like put down your content in a particular order. It's easy to look into and understand. Now let's say you have some content which is not so important, but it's also present there so people can read it if they want to, but it's not the most important thing in your page. So in such cases, you have a separate element or a tag in HTML5 for that, and that is called as aside, ASIDE. Like you want to keep it aside and just there so people can read it if they want to, but that's not the main thing there. So for that, you use the aside tag. An aside element represents a section of a page that consists of a content that is tangentially related to the content, but it's not the main thing which is there. So you write a aside tag, wrap the p tag in the aside tag. So it's like just kept there, but not so important as much as the article which is given, but you can just keep it there for names. So that's the aside tag, which is also present in the main content and can be used there too. Now this is just a way of writing a text and all of that. Now let's look at some things for the media, the images and the video and audio. What do you have special tags for them? Now here I have a image of a dog which is under sunlight. We're going to be using this image in a specific way, so it's different from how you might have seen usually. So we're going to write that in a separate section for its own, where we're going to put the media. So we'll give a section, then we'll give a heading H1, and we'll call this media. And how you usually place images is using the figure tag, and inside there you use the image tag. And so how you usually place images by using the figure tag, and then inside there you place your image tag and the source and alt and all that. Or instead of the alt, we'll do another way too. Let's go ahead. So you go write the figure tag and you close it. That's a closing tag. Okay, that's for figure. And then you go ahead and you write the image tag. And for the image, you give the source. This image is the dog image we have. Once we save it, we can see the dog image out here. Under media, you have it as a separate section. Now, instead of the alt tag which we had in image, we are going to have something called as a figure caption, the caption for this particular image. That alt tag works when you don't have the image rendered to the web browser, but this caption works all the time. So how we're going to do that is we're going to give fig caption, and inside there you're going to give text. So we're going to just say dog under sunlight. You can save this, and this is like the caption for this image. It comes directly below it. You haven't like aligned it, styling it, but you just have that space for the image what was given for this fig caption too. Now this is one type of media which you can add using the figure tag, and there are other types of media like the audio and the video. You use specific tags for adding the audio and the video. So I've gone ahead and I've added an audio which is a dog barking audio, and let's see how we add it to this particular section of media. How you do that is using the audio tag. So you go ahead and you write the audio tag and you close it off. But there's one thing that you have to do for the audio tag differently from the just the figure tag is that you have to give the controls for them. So we say controls and you save it. This is just an audio with the pause button, the volume button and everything. Now to add an audio, you use the source tag. So you write the source tag, and this source tag src, which is for source, we'll say the dog barking mp3, and we'll give it type, and you have to give a type which says audio / mp3. So this means that this is an audio. Once you save it, you can go ahead and see it. And let me play this audio for you, which is just a simple dog barking audio. Okay, now this is the control. If you have the play button, and next you have the volume. You can decrease or increase the volume, and you can again play it if you want. And you have the controls, which means you can also download it to your device if you want. Use it in your web page, the same audio. So I've gone ahead and downloaded a video and a GIF. So these two things we're going to be including it into our media section. So how we do that is to go here for adding a video. Let's see first. For a video, you have a separate tag called as a video tag. So you do video, and similarly, like the audio tag, you have to give the controls also for this. So once you save it, you don't have a video, you just have the controls there. Now let's go see how to add the source of dog video we have. For the source, what you do is you go here in the video tag itself, and you say source src, and you give the source, which is the dog video which you have, and you save it. Now you have the dog video here. Now you have the dog video here. I haven't like styled it using CSS, but you just have it placed here. You can play it. Just a simple dog video there. You can increase the volume or mute it. You can make it to full screen. And you can also download this video. That's up to you. And this is given by the controls option which you added out here for video. And let's say the video is not supported in some web browsers. We want an alt tag for the, like the image, we want an alt tag for this. That's what you're going to put between the video tags. So you say video not supported. Just save it. In my web browser it's supported, so there's no problem there. But in some web browsers it might not be supported, so it will say video not supported instead of this video. Now let's look at how to add this simple GIF. So for adding the GIF, we don't need something really complicated. It's just a simple HTML tag. It's called as embed. You do embed, embed, and you give the source and you give the GIF which you want. And this is a self-closing tag, so you put / and close it out. You can see. So you can go down and you can see the GIF present here. That's it. We have done a simple web page using the semantic HTML, which makes user easier to understand what we are doing. Like this section is for the header, and then this section is for the main which we have, and then this section is for the nav. The main has two sections in it, one's the article and one's the media, and then the footer has the p tag to it. So this makes it easier for people to understand what's happening in your web page when they read it. Like when you're seeing it, it does not make a difference whether you add divs or semantic HTML or non-semantic HTML. But when you're writing the code and a web developer sees your code, it makes it easier for them to understand, and also easier for you when you're looking at it in the future. So that's it from me in this video. So with this, we are done with the HTML series, and we'll soon start our CSS series where you can style your HTML page and make your HTML page more like a web page, which is in the open web. So I'll catch you guys in the next video.